the nice thing about my particular curriculum is that it is based on universal design for learning, so it is very fluid. So for the kids that that needed more hands-on, for example, hands-on inventorying, how do we do this? Hands-on customer service. We did a lot of role plays. We did a lot of hands-on stuff. So when we were taking inventories, the kids, that sort of needed to physically touch something, I allowed them to do that. And we did do role plays, on top of classroom lecture time. But these are seventh graders, so to keep them engaged, you really have to do a lot of sort of real world stuff with them for this. So in that sense, yes. We did do trainings. I guess I don't want to call them trainings. I kind of want to call them role plays and exercises and sort of, mock things. And I would recruit teachers to come up and, go buy this, and see how they did. And all the students took turns in each role. So we had students that did some inventory. We had students that did, the customer service. And then the next week they would switch up. And I also allowed them to sort of play to their strengths because we were doing sort of a team-building idea, and in a team, we really talked about how, you do play to your strengths, and you allow your team members that are, say you have, a team member that's very strong in art, to let them do some of the drawing. The team members that are creative, to let them do some of that, and then we would switch things up. So we had some students that would step forward and say, yes, absolutely, I'm strong in math, let me do the inventory, and other students would let them do that. So, it really just depended. And also trying to engage the students that might be a little bit shy, or maybe have a learning disability and don't want to, put that out there that, maybe I am a little bit dyslexic or things like that. So we kind of worked around that.
I would think it's more, I don't know if patience is the right word, but sometimes students with disabilities don't get the procedure the first time around. So, for example, last year when we had to change our sanitizing procedures, we were in a different room, we moved our location, and we had to follow a different procedure. And it really upset two of my work study students, like angry upset. And I think it's just a lot of patience and understanding that some students, especially students with disabilities, don't accept change very well. And none of us know what has happened in their lives in the past, that change has happened, and most of the time it's a negative thing. So we just try to be patient, walk them through the procedure. If they do make a mistake, not draw too much attention to it. And most of the time we would say something like, oh, it's nothing that couldn't be fixed. And it wasn't nothing that couldn't be fixed. If something wasn't sanitized the right way, we just followed the procedure again to sanitize it. So I think just more patience, more positive verbal praise, having even conversations during the procedure or when we were in that new room and the students didn't want to be in that new room, just having a conversation maybe about their night or about the day ahead or something good that has happened, to draw a little bit away from the fact that they were in a new room and they really didn't like it. For students without disabilities, and for students with disabilities too, besides the sanitation procedures, the actual making of the drinks is just hands-on training, and probably the same thing, just a lot of repetitive, this is the recipe, make sure you fill milk up to this line, make sure you pour the drink up to this line in the cup. So a lot of practice.
Last year we had a couple of guest speakers come in from local restaurants to talk about health and safety, some of the guidelines and things that they had to follow in their businesses. We also have someone come in last year and gave a PowerPoint presentation on the different types of knives that you use for different types of things that you're cutting. He had a PowerPoint. He also had a display of all of those. We made the kids a laminated copy and then sort of tested them on what knife goes with what food. Definitely do a lot of role playing. Usually before the actual soup, we'll set everybody up in their stations, and then we'll have either myself, my teaching assistant. Sometimes we'll grab students from the hallway, say, "Hey, could you pretend to be a difficult customer? Could you pretend to be?" And so they'll do a lot of that. We also have like checklists. So before we do anything, we let the kids look at all the information that we're going to be covering. We do a lot of math sit-down worksheet type things that are directly related to shopping, discounts, that kind of thing. So we'll do that before we even go shopping.
Well, we started with the keychains. There are certain different types of knots you have to use to make the keychains, and so there were some video links that we had looked at when I brought back the samples. And we went online, we looked at the videos, links for making the different knots, and then we started practicing, and that's basically how we got going. And it's amazing how quickly the students catch on. Everybody in the program, I think.
And I think most of the training for the kids with disabilities just came from the kids without disabilities sort of modeling, sort of watching and working together. And I think that was the most successful way of training, to just kind of put them together and they could see what their peer was doing. Sometimes we had to make sure that the kids without disabilities weren't taking over, and that they were making sure that the kids could use the skills. Sometimes we'd have to do direct training and practice, a lot of practice with money management and just being able to handle money, some of the kids. But it worked out really well. And I think the routine and having the same job and not jumping around and trying to do a lot of things, as the kids got very comfortable in what they were doing and felt really proud about what they could do. And we tried to get kids, who had more communication skills, more in the sales, and the kids who had more money management skills, working on the money. And so I think that just a lot of practice, at least for the kids with disabilities, and doing it every day, and they just really blossomed and really became experts in their area, what they were, part of the business that they were doing.
We definitely try to rotate it. So each week everybody has a different task so they can get experiences in all aspects. Everybody does go grocery shopping together. Everyone does the math involved with that grocery shopping. So if it's doubling a recipe, if it's using coupons, if it's, any of that stuff, everyone does. And then on the actual, there's 2 days. There's a soup prep day and then the actual selling of soup. So usually it's a Thursday before payday. Thursday they chop up all the vegetables, so whatever needs to be done for that soup, they'll do. This year we have 2 new students who have never really been in the kitchen much, and nor have they used knives ever. So definitely something we're working through and making sure that they have some definite one-on-one assistance. But so Thursday is usually we can make the soup from start to finish on Thursday, and then Friday we just take it out of the cooler and heat it up to the temperature that we need it in order to sell it. But on soup day, we have different stations. So there's like a soup pouring station, so that's sort of some fine motor skills, being able to ladle the soup into the bowl, making sure you have even proportions of soup and broth and whatever, making sure, and that's also the first person that the customer sees, so a lot of that customer interaction and social skills. And then we typically have something else that goes with our soup, so we'll have bread or muffins or something. So there's that station where, again, it's more social interaction with our customers. We also have the cash register, which is a very, popular station. Everybody wants to be on the cash register, so we make sure that we rotate that. We also have things like coupons. We have a $1 off coupon. We have punch cards. So if you get five soups in a row and you get punched for that, then you get a free soup. So there's a lot of things when you're working the cash register that you have to be able to do in order to give them the correct amount of change or accept the correct amount of money. Then we have another station where they have to check off all the teachers, so who's come in, who's bought soup, who do we still have left, how many soups do we have, because we have to make sure we have enough for everybody. If we're running low, sometimes, we have to sort of deal with those situations. Then we also have a welcome station, which is where they get all their condiments, and sometimes if we need more sort of social skills, ideas, that kind of thing, we'll have somebody with a clipboard and a question. So, for example, like around Super Bowl time, we'll talk about who the people want to win the Super Bowl, and we'll start conversations like that. And then the kids kind of have to keep a tally or keep a chart or a graph. Some of the students have that as an actual IEP goal. So we'll incorporate that into Soup Day. And then we also, this past year, because of and this is again through the grant, sort of focusing on giving back to others, we'll usually have a table set up where either we take tips, and the tips will go towards some charity or foundation. We'll have information. This past soup that we just had, we sold cookies, and the tips and all of the proceeds from that went to First Candle, which is a charity for raising money for research for SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, because we recently had a teacher who suffered a loss due to that.
We kind of cultivate from within and grow our leaders. So they learn from experience. Devon started out as a freshman helping out with the recycling business. And last year he helped with recycling and was on the competition team. And so this year now he's managing the staffing and the logistics for the recycling business. Lakin, who is the president of the SAGE organization, she started out in SAGE as a freshman, and she was on the competition team in Chicago. She helped out with SAGE Global when we were in Buffalo, when we got to assist with that. She's been to a couple competitions. So we sort of kind of cultivate people and let them grow and take on as much responsibility as they'd like. Sometimes I have been known to give a gentle nudge to step up and take more responsibility for someone, or mention that they would be a great leader. But in general, like I said, it's the kids step up and step up throughout the years. Students that are struggling with completing whatever their component is, usually other students that are working in their area. So say, I know we're going back to the same thing, but it was a recent thing, so it's on my mind, is Devon trying to get the crews back in the groove of things, coming back to school for the recycling business, and the Monday crew was having problems. And so, Devon and I talked about it, and, he had some strategies of, he wanted to talk to that crew, and instead of having one Monday crew leader, he asked another person that was on the team to step in, and so now there's two crew leaders to kind of checks and balance, kind of make sure nothing falls through the cracks. So they sort of help each other from within. If somebody's struggling with getting something done, one or two other SAGE people, maybe from their group or from another group, jump in and help them along.
We've researched, we've talked to the kids, we've asked them, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, particularly in the kitchen, and we had to buy some adaptive equipment. So, like the knives, we found these like rocking knives that are a little bit safer. We have a student with some right side paralysis, so things like a can opener, we had to get an electric can opener. So teaching them how to use those different tools.
We had, some accommodations with the money, so we'd have, how much change they'd give back, and we'd have visuals for the kids so that they could do that on their own. We had one girl who used a communication device because she really wanted to be involved in some of the selling, and so she used just a voice output to say good morning, do things like that. She was very shy, but she loved putting on her apron and her hat and being up there and being part of the whole thing.
In that respect, we have some kids whose families have been very supportive, and these kids have been in the kitchen since they were young. And then we have others who, they don't feel comfortable with their child in the kitchen at this point. So that's something, working with the families, that's something we did a couple of years ago. I had a student whose mother didn't let him do anything, was too nervous. She's a lovely woman, but we had to do some training, and I provided articles on the importance of, getting these students hands-on experiences and learning. But we had to kind of educate the mom at the same time, and she was amazing. She really came a long way since when we first started working with her.